Hello, everyone. Reggie Young here with Bradley Sutton from Helium 10. Bradley, if you could introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about who you are and how you got started.
Hey guys, Bradley, the director of training and chief evangelist here at Helium 10, spreading the gospel of
Yeah.
of Helium 10. But I've had a lot of different roles here. I was one of the. There's only been like 2 or 3 employees on the U.S. side who have been at Helium 10 longer than me right now. And now now overall we've got like something like 600 employees. But it's been a journey. I started using Helium 10 as a consultant for Amazon sellers like 2016, around there, and then just was on the radar of the founders of Helium 10 because I was always being in their Facebook group, and they're like, "Hey, you should come work for us." So rest is history, I guess.
So, and so if people who don't know Helium 10 is like the number one software for Amazon sellers by far. So I'm super excited to have you on the podcast and seeing you enter Helium 10 and the way I see it is you are like the guy of Helium 10. You're like the face, the branding of Helium 10. I was curious is like, how has that journey been for you? First starting out, like being one of the first employees and now like Helium 10 can't get rid of you. Like you're Bradley Sutton, like the image of who you are, your voice is to me, of course it was Manny Coates who
Well,
first started
yeah,
out. And now
anybody
you're
can. Nobody's irreplaceable, but yeah, I mean, I feel confident that I have good job security. But yeah, it's that wasn't what I was hired for at first. Like I was just hired to kind of like take on the operations side and and be like another like kind of like subject matter expert because at the time outside of the founders, nobody at the company had it, had either sold on Amazon or worked with Amazon sellers. But then one thing that Helium 10's always been good at is kind of like, seeing what you're comfortable with and what you're good at, and then allowing
Mhm.
you to kind of grow into different roles. And so that's why, in those days, the Manny Coates, the founder of Helium 10, he was on doing all the videos, doing the podcasts, and then he's like, man, I really need to step back and do other things. And so that was when I kind of took over. So it was kind of fun. I've worn a lot of I like hats, but I've worn a lot of hats here at Helium 10 too, where I was in charge of customer service for a while. Um, I was in charge of the affiliate program and and then, the content team. So I've had a lot of different roles, but this current one has probably been about almost 3 years now. I've been doing it.
Wow, it's absolutely amazing. I think about like the amount of knowledge you must have being in a business as big as Helium 10, having so many different touch points, partners, and then experiencing all these different roles. I couldn't imagine like the level of experience and understanding you have. You're not from like, of course, from an Amazon level, being on different podcasts and being in all these different touch points with these experts, but from like an agency level, like huge company level, what do you think like are some lessons you've learned, like wearing those different hats for somebody who may be trying to find a similar opportunity in their niche? Like, what advice would you give to somebody, maybe first starting out, or maybe your own advice to yourself, if you could go back, when you first started?
I think it's interesting, I've always considered myself to be like have that entrepreneurial mindset, like I've
Mhm.
had to work for the man, quote unquote, at different times, and I haven't really enjoyed it much. And I've like worked at billion-dollar companies before, like Helium 10 is a billion-dollar company now, but I've done that before, like in the food industry, and it was mainly because like I need to get insurance, for my family, and I need a steady paycheck,
Mhm.
but half of my adult life I've also spent on my own, running my own business and stuff like, I've run my own business for a long time, like in the whole Fast and Furious, the car parts thing and things like
Mhm.
that. And I've always liked to to be my own boss. And so then coming to work at Helium 10 originally was like, you'd think that somebody with my mindset would be like, oh man, you're kind of working for the man. And so
Mhm.
what I would suggest to people in a similar situation, like if you're an entrepreneur, but you can find like a company in the industry that you love, like you still love doing what you do, it still it still feels like being an entrepreneur.
Mhm.
So like if you're just one of those Gary V types or like myself, who hates working for the man, like try not to get a job in the corporate 9 to 5. But you just have absolutely have to. You got a family, like me to support, and you need a steady paycheck. You can't always just live as a digital nomad, like yourself, and you need more stability. Well, then find a job that you can be passionate about and still do your side hustles. Like I'm still doing my side hustles and running Amazon businesses on the side and things like that. But there's a lot of companies out there where if you can find a role that you're passionate about and it doesn't feel like work, and now especially I think this is the case when you're in remote culture. Like I've never had a remote job before, but now that I'm in it, like even Helium 10 originally wasn't remote. I had to go, it was ridiculous. I had to drive an hour each way to work. So that was the one good thing about COVID. It was like when that was when they decided to become a remote company, and it was like, oh man, this is the coolest thing in the world. It's just like working from home, like when I had my own businesses. So yeah, if you're that kind of mindset, don't just completely discount working for a company like Helium 10 or another huge company. There's companies out there that still allow you to feel like you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah, definitely. The way I've been thinking about it literally for like a few years when I was like struggling through and then remote work became a thing, just that level of opportunity to still operate as an entrepreneur, but have that safety and surety of working for a big company that you're passionate about that allows you to still have that lifestyle, that freedom that you're looking for, but still have that safety at the same time. So the way I see it
Yep.
is like, to be honest, I literally see you as like one of the top Amazon sellers. Like I couldn't imagine the level of understanding that you have talking with all these different people, the network that you have talking with like everyone knowing the white hat, the black hat, being in, being able to touch the serious sellers group, then 8, 7, 8, 9 figure level, apply information on Helium 10, the roadmap. So being able to actually hold both spaces at the same time, I think is something that a lot of entrepreneurs don't think about. I think we think like, hey, you're either going to be corporate 9 to 5 stuck at a desk, or you're going to risk it all. And then you're going to have to like maybe make it and like do this whole transformation. But I really love, I feel like the position you're in and the the credibility that you can leverage now for like the rest of your life, whether you stay with Helium 10 till the day you die, or you go and start your own thing, like
Mhm.
the amount of like personal brand equity and knowledge and having sat through those different hats that you don't get as an entrepreneur, as a solo Amazon. So you just don't get that kind of things. So I think that's really something that a lot of entrepreneurs can maybe put on their roadmap, that it doesn't have to be this all in burn the ships movement. It can be, how do you get in front of other people in the industry? And it sounds like you did it with the Facebook group. Do you have the
Yep.
understanding, the know-how, and there's just everything aligned, the universe aligned. And now you're like, literally like, in my opinion, one of the best Amazon sellers
Yeah.
because you have that, just that massive balance. Like, so, to be honest, a little bit jealous there of being able to like, you can straddle them both. Like, I'm pretty sure you don't have to worry. I think you told me you're going to, Czech Republic to speak at an Amazon
Yeah.
event, right? Probably paid for by Helium 10. I'm sure like the hotel, maybe probably comped and all this kind of stuff. And I'm sure you get the VIP treatment, everything. It's like, how do you, an entrepreneur to get to that level, the level of financial security you have to spend that kind of money? It's not easy. And I feel like a lot of people discount the straddling that entrepreneurial lifestyle, and then keeping like maybe one foot in a bigger business that you're just passionate about.
Yeah, it's different. It's not like, you kind of hit the nail on the head a little bit. It's not, oh, just because of Helium 10, that's how I have knowledge or gotten out there, or just the opposite. It's like the the important part is the networking, running the podcast, meeting people, going to different events, and then getting myself out there. Like I've done it on my own. Like I've done this kind of thing before where I just have this, like a big following, like on the internet. Like I used to be a Zumba fitness instructor, and I've always like thought about marketing and how to market myself and get out there. And I created this character, because like the way I learned how to be a male instructor, because most Zumba instructors are female, was I saw like some you guys on YouTube. I was like, wow, they're doing kind of like masculine stuff. Like I could do this.
Mhm.
Like, I always thought, you had to be really effeminate to do Zumba. I was like, no,
Mhm.
okay. And I learned on YouTube, but then like some of them, like I wouldn't have ever known who they were on you. Like if I saw them in real life, like I would go to Zumba conferences and whatever. I just know them because I subscribe to their channel. I'm like, okay, you know what? I can get my name out there and start traveling and stuff. But like by doing videos, but I like I got to think of like a hook, you know? And so I created this character, called it Crazy Sock TV, where I would be known to like have these create like a crazy colorful outfit, but
Mhm.
then I would have one crazy sock on like one leg and then the opposite one on my arm. So like I would only have one
Uh,
sock on the leg and then I cut it off and I would put on my arm. And so people didn't know my name, but anytime I would go to a conference and I would be in my like quote unquote costume, everybody knew like, oh, that's the crazy sock guy. And then, I got like, this is like 12 years ago. I got like 30,000 subscribers on YouTube and over 30 million views, and in the days where nobody was getting those kind of numbers,
mhm,
and 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 yeah, I'm not a great dancer at all. Well, like I'm not that special.
mhm,
Um, but it was because I knew how to market myself and I knew, how to do it. Nowadays, like, yeah, sure, I do know a lot, probably more than the average person, but it's not like I'm some savant or something where, like I know there's some super smart people you and I have probably never heard of because they're kind of like behind the scenes. And there's nothing wrong with being behind the scenes. But yeah, you're right. Like once you put yourself out there, it opens up all this opportunity. So when I put myself out there for the Zumba, now all of a sudden I was being flown all over the world to do master classes, in places I'd never been to. And it's similar now with when you put yourself out there and have a, a decent reputation, where you're not known to BS or you're not just one of those, fake gurus who sold on Amazon 5 years ago and you're still trying to make money off of your accomplishments before, where you have no idea what you're doing. People couldn't see through that. So
mhm,
people see that's not what I'm about. And so, yeah, like I'll be flown different places, but a lot of the traveling you see me do, it's not always me being flown. Like to me, travel is important for mental health and it's my hobby. So some of these trips I do, like Helium 10's not paying for it.
mhm,
I'm not, the venue's not paying for it. Sometimes I just shoot, just I love doing what I do, so I'll pay it out of my own pocket. People think I'm crazy, but
mhm.
I always make sure to mention that because especially since I've been to the Maldives 7 times in the last 2 years, my coworkers would be pretty upset if they thought that Helium 10 is paying for Bradley to go to the
Mhm.
Maldives,
Right, right,
every 3 or 4 months. So let me assure my
right.
coworkers, Helium 10 has never paid a cent. I usually use my travel points, and I pay that out of my own pocket to go to the Maldives.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I saw that, and it's interesting too because I know you kind of branded a Amazon ranking tactic, uh, right, named after the Maldives. So, when all the traveling you've done, and I feel like you travel a lot, um, I feel like I see you speaking all over the place. I see the banners on LinkedIn and the Facebook groups. I would imagine you have a lot of travel experience. Could you maybe give us some tips on like things that you're thinking about when you're traveling as you're setting up your
Yep.
director of training? You have probably a lot of things to be considering. How do you keep that momentum? How do you keep that fluidity in your personal life and uh, and managing a business?
Yeah, travel is important. So, like I said, like for me, it's also one of my hobbies. What keeps me happy, and that's important. If you work a lot, you're a workaholic like myself. You can burn yourself out if you don't have a way to balance fun with work. And so, I love traveling, and I try and make it. I try and do both things. So sometimes I want to go travel. Like I went to Japan for 3 weeks last month with my family. And that was kind of like a family trip. But at the same time, I'm like looking for opportunities to work. So
Mhm.
I found a conference to speak at. I did a couple meetups with Helium 10 users, similar thing I did in like, Korea. That was like a family trip. But I did multiple Helium 10 meetups and stuff. And so if I go for a vacation, I'm looking to work. If I'm going for work, I look for a vacation. So like I'm going to Prague, and I'm going to Bali, for the first time. And
Mhm.
those are for Amazon events. And I'm going to Puerto Rico for an Amazon event all in June. But work was the primary thing for each of those. But at the same time, I'm looking at TripAdvisor, for
Mhm.
things to do. No matter where I go, boom, I'm on TripAdvisor. I'm looking for top 50 things to do and seeing what's like near where I'm staying and where can I go. I'm looking at TripAdvisor, looking at what are the top rated restaurants,
Mhm.
or the
Mhm.
most reviewed, or what's been on diners, dive-ins and drives,
Yeah, yeah,
or
yeah.
something like that, like, or what's been on Yelp top 100. Like, I'm a
Mhm.
foodie and I like, doing Instagrammable things. So that's the way I keep it balanced, like
Right.
where yes, I travel a lot for vacation for work, but I'm also doing the other thing all
Mhm.
at the same time. Maldives, it's not like I'm recording podcasts in the Maldives the whole time I'm there. I'm also enjoying enjoying myself. So I think to have that balance is important.
Yeah, yeah, excellent. Now, as you were talking about like food and foodie, one of the things that I've been doing when I go to a country and I don't understand the language, you get like a menu that you don't know what's what. I always type the restaurant in Google and I click on
Mm-hmm.
the Google search result and I look at like what's most popular and I just point at what I like and it always ends up being like the top choice. So anyone
Yeah.
who
For
is like
US,
struggling,
Yelp is the go-to, but there's no Yelp in like other countries, or like you could look at Yelp, but there's like almost no restaurants. But yeah, Google is definitely the move when you're in a foreign country.
yeah, totally. And then you had a really good episode. I think like not too long ago, you had some travel hacks,
Mhm.
things like that. What kind of credit cards or what type of like, you had like a really good layering of being able to
Yeah.
afford the Maldives or something like that. If you could expand on that
So
for,
my go-to hotel is Hilton. And the how I got started on that is because I use the American Express Hilton card. And that gives me, like when of course when you're using it for like your PPC and maybe some purchases and this and that, I'm getting at least I want to say like 5, 6, 7 nights free a
Mhm.
year. And the thing with that is when you get a night free with Hilton, it's, I could have that at the local Hilton Garden Inn, that would cost $75 a night, or that free voucher or the free night. It goes for the Waldorf Astoria Maldives, which is where I stay at most of the time, and that's a $2,000 a night. So obviously,
Jeez.
it's better
Yeah.
to save those for the, if it counts the same, it's better to save those for the $2,000 a night
Mhm.
rooms. And then for points, my favorite card is the Chase Sapphire and Chase Sapphire Reserve, and that's because it doesn't tie you directly to like a certain airlines. So it uses like the Expedia engine in there. And so what it does, it literally just makes the points dollars. So like let's say I have like 50,000 points, that's equal to like $800. And so I can just look for any airlines and I book it through Chase and then it transfers my points to dollars. I'm not having to transfer points to an actual airline. I can do that too. And then that way I can still get more points on the airlines. So like, if you were to, if like I use United too. So like, let's say I paid points for a United flight and it's to the opposite side of the world. I am not earning any more points on that. It doesn't count as a flight. It doesn't count as points or anything. But if I use my points on Chase in order to buy a flight on there, to United or to American or to Delta or whatever, it's as if I paid full money for that flight, full cash, because that's how it looks like to them. So I'm getting credit for that flight. So that's like another reason why I actually don't have airlines cards. I just use like Chase Sapphire and then I try and buy my tickets through Chase.
Yeah. Yeah. Really smart. You get that full flexibility. One of the things my friend had mentioned to me earlier, because sometimes I'm in a place right now, I'm visiting Utah. Never thought I would visit Utah, but man, this place is beautiful. And I never realized how cheap it is right after ski season. There's this beautiful resort called the Cliff Spa, like a little
Hmm.
pricey, but there's no like, American United Express upgrade or something like that. But I found out a lot of these places have like these like day passes. I spent like $40. I was in this like amazing pool, like beautiful scenery, $40, like worked there the whole day, went to the gym the whole day. And it was like $40 well spent because it kind of raises my vibration. Um, and just making like the best possible use of your travel wherever you go. So I love like the balancing, like the work with the
Yeah.
relaxing, using your credit card points and trying to create that as much flexibility as possible. So I think like, having that fluidity is definitely ultra important while you're moving around, especially if you're moving. I could imagine going to three places in 1 month. That must get a little bit exhausting, I would imagine.
I mean, I'm going to like that wasn't all. Like I'm going to 3 places in almost 4 days. Like I'm flying to Moldova. We have an office there and I'm spending like 1 night or 2 nights there. And then from there I go to Serbia. I spend 1 night there
Oh,
and then from
nice.
there to Prague. So that's like 4 nights. I'm in 3 different countries, not even including my layovers. So sometimes it can get a little hectic, but
Mhm.
like that's the one cool thing about Europe is, I was only going to Prague, but I'm like, shoot, when you're in Europe, you're like a $25 Ryanair flight from anywhere. Well, so
Mhm.
I was like,
Mhm.
"Hey, where else can I go for
Yeah,
like
yeah.
30, $40 and let me visit our offices over there." So yeah, that's what I'm doing for that one.
Excellent. Yeah. And I know you said you were in the Czech Republic. You're speaking there. I'll be in Lisbon in like about a week. So maybe I'll pop by and hear your talk with Amazon. And with that pivot to Amazon, um, having your ear and being close to the ground, both on the software level and at the higher level with big sellers and new sellers. What do you think? I feel like you've been in the industry for so long, so tapped into like what's going on. Where do you think this Amazon marketplace is evolving for sellers here, like in the next year or two? What do you like some major trends? Like, how do you see this competition or the marketplace evolving?
Yeah, I mean, I think first of all, it's making sure you're not only on Amazon. I mean, Amazon is still the behemoth in the industry, but since COVID, I think more sellers realize, hey, we got to diversify the marketplaces we're on. Most of my money is going to come in on Amazon, but there are some people who got shut down during COVID, and then boom, their sales went to zero. So it's
Mhm.
important, to set up on Walmart, Walmart.com. Maybe have Shopify, start going into the newer ones like TikTok Shop, as long as that's still going. I've heard of people having success. And then not just focusing on your home marketplace. If you're in Germany, maybe, yeah, I'm just going to sell on Amazon Germany. If you're in
Mhm.
USA, I'm just going to sell on Amazon USA. No, no, no. If you're in USA, hey, sell on Amazon North America, but expand. Try UAE. Try selling in Japan, Amazon Europe, Amazon Singapore, Amazon Australia. If you have a product that would be in demand, gone are the days where you just set it up in your own marketplace and you'll be set for life. You've got to diversify, in order to stay competitive, and then advertising. You know, you could just throw maybe in the old days, like 6 7 years ago, hey, let me just throw on an auto campaign and check it every now and then. I'll be good to go. There's like a million more kinds of ad types now than there was back in the day. There's sponsored brand video, sponsored display video. There's DSP that bigger sellers are doing. There's all kinds of new placements on the product page. There's Amazon posts. There's like just like so many things that you're going to fall behind if you're not keeping up with everything that Amazon is innovating. So having a good handle on what people are doing on advertising, and then just in general is, I'll be honest, 6 7 years ago, you didn't need Helium 10 or other tools to have success on Amazon. Nowadays, I don't see how you could do it without it, unless you have like, if you're Nike, you don't need to use Helium 10, even though I'm sure, there's tons of billion-dollar companies who use Helium 10, but you they don't need it as much as a third party seller. But if you're a third party seller, unless you've got some super unique patented product that you're the only person in the world who could even make it. I mean, without a tool like Helium 10, you're kind of screwed nowadays, because the sellers are like 10 times as efficient, as they were like 8 years ago or 7 years ago, because they can just throw in something in Cerebro and find out every single keyword that you're ranking for. I mean, you would have never like that. If somebody said you could do that like 8 years ago, people would be like, "That's impossible. What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
So
How much does that cost?
yeah,
Yeah.
like how much does that cost? I need that yesterday. Like I would have wanted, people would probably have wanted to pay $1,000 a month for something like that. But now it's just like commonplace. It's like, oh, that comes on the cheapest version of Helium 10, or whatever X and Y tool. Like everybody has something like that now. So the game has definitely changed, and that's important. People should never use the term laptop lifestyle for selling on Amazon, where you just start something and then you just like kick back in the Maldives for the rest of your life. No, you've got to be in it and innovating and keeping up with technology. AI obviously is new now, or else you're going to fall behind.
Yeah. And one thing I love about Helium 10 is I feel like once Helium 10 got into the market, it is just all the other Amazon software tools just like basically shut down. Like the market share you guys have, the UX, the constant innovation, the constant touching up. It's just every time I look at Helium 10, I'm seeing something new being added, being optimized. And when I find this new capability that I feel like I could take advantage of, and I may see it on this one software that may not be that well known, or the pricing may not be that good, I literally wait 3 months max, and you guys have a better version, and kind of really that all-in suite tool. So I really love that. I don't like, as an entrepreneur, having a ton of
Yeah.
subscriptions, right? Because it's like you get Gmail, you get the domain name, you get the Shopify, VPC. Next thing you know, it's like all my expenses are gone. But if it's one thing I've always recommended, is like, yeah, Helium 10, you get your value for your money, you get a really professional tool.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
and so with leveraging Helium 10, understanding like the market, that diversification, where would you say, like, in terms of low competition, but high revenue, high potential, probably an easy source, what country do you see as like an easy secondary country to enter to? Is it Australia? Is it UK? Where would you say you're
It
seeing that?
depends. Like if you're in America, the easier ones to do on the listing side, might be the English-based countries, be it UAE, UK, and Australia. But that doesn't mean that that's the least amount of competition. I would say the least competition compared to how big the market is, it would be Japan,
Mm,
because it's between third and fourth biggest marketplace next to US is definitely number one, Germany is definitely number two, and then UK and Japan go back and forth. But the competition is almost nothing. Japan really in
mm,
most in most categories compared to like the USA. But on the flip side, you've got to have a native speaker who can translate for you. There's some regulations that make it a little bit harder to sell, which by the way is why there's such little competition in Japan, because it's not that easy, quote unquote, easy to get set up to sell over there. So I would say the marketplace with the most opportunity right now is Japan. But that being said, every single Amazon marketplace, I don't care how saturated it is, there's always going to be opportunity, always, because
yeah.
you could have five that get saturated, but then in that same time, there's seven new products that got, every year there's something else. It's like sure, garlic press hasn't been a thing for years. Um, Collagen peptides or whatever. But for every collagen peptides there are now, there's all of a sudden, the trend was a couple years ago, I think, Ziploc bag organizer. Nobody in the world had that idea 3 years ago or had any need for a Ziploc bag organizer. And then all of a sudden it became a thing. And there's people doing like $1 million a year for a Ziploc bag organizer. So things do get saturated, but there's always some new invention that's going to come.
Excellent. Okay, so for people who either want to get started, have heard about Helium 10, what advice would you give to a new seller, literally first starting out? Like, where would you send them, and what advice would it be?
Um, if you're getting started with just Amazon in general, let's just say, and then you can definitely get started with Amazon General and Helium 10 and um go for a freedom ticket. That's our course that we made with Kevin King, and it's like, 50 hours, 110 modules, like the A to Z of selling on Amazon. And that'll give you a good base. And then you'll be able
Mhm.
to find your first product. Like let's say you're an existing seller and for a while you weren't using tools, or maybe you're using another tool or something, and now you're just starting with Helium 10. Well, I'll just hop right into the tools. And the number one thing, especially if you've never used a tool, that you can get the most bang for your buck right off the bat, would be Cerebro.
Mm,
If you've never done a deep dive into your competitors and where their ad spend is, like what keywords they're advertising on, where they're showing up organically, where they're getting their keyword sales from, that is great because Amazon nowadays has so much information for sellers, even if you don't have a tool. Like you can look at brand analytics, or you can look at or search career performance. But with those, it's mainly geared towards showing you what you're doing well at, and you don't always have the full picture as far as what your specific competitors are doing good at. So that's why you
mhm.
need a tool like Cerebro. So yeah, if you're brand new to Amazon, start with Freedom Ticket. But if you've been selling for a while and you never use Helium 10, then Cerebro is the place to start with.
Excellent. Yeah, I love that. And then one thing I just wanted to mention is that I feel like maybe a unique use case for Amazon is anyone that's in like the market research space that wants to understand the market. You can go to Amazon, maybe look at a few reviews, but the keyword level data that you get from Amazon or for Helium 10, scraping the reviews, right? Compiling those common words together. Those types of things I feel like in a market can help you identify gender, age, common words that are being used in the market, associated products, lifestyles, um, so much data that can be pulled off of Amazon that represents what I would call the most competitive marketplace in the world. If you're not selling software, you're probably selling a product or you're touching a product. If
Sure.
you're touching a product, if your business is touching a product, um, company you're consulting for, I think having a tool like Helium 10, and like you said, that reverse ASIN, that reverse lookup, just a lot of gold there, regardless of people, regardless of their level of selling or what they're doing. Just pure market research. There's just a lot of value in having a tool scrape some big data resource like Amazon to pull out market insights that you can leverage in so many different ways. So I want to put that use case out there for people who maybe not have thought about that before, and maybe reframing how they would use Helium 10 instead of just pure keyword research. There's a lot of other unique things you can do as well, like grab market share, percent of market share, just a lot of unique things when you reframe how you think about it.
Yeah, I agree.
Sweet. Okay. Well, a little bit of a longer podcast, but I really want to thank you for coming on the show. Yeah, I think that's about it. If you have any parting advice,
Is everybody check out Reggie on the opposite side of the microphone. So episode 454 of the Serious Sellers podcast. You can get his backstory. And that's why it's fun for me to come on other podcasts too, because I like sometimes being on the other side of the microphone too. So it's a little bit different vibe. But yeah, that's the best way to like follow different things of me. Like follow me on LinkedIn or on just Serious Sellers podcast, whether it's on Apple Podcasts or even Instagram, or you can check it out on YouTube. But always love interviewing unique individuals such as yourself, and let them share their stories. And thanks for allowing me to share mine.
Sweet. Thank you so much. We'll make sure we'll link down below your LinkedIn, IG, your socials, all that. So yeah, everyone can see.
Awesome.
Hopefully a Zumba session.
There we go.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Bradley. We'll be in touch, and take care.